Director of Wikimedia Israel. I'm Marty Johnson, and I'm the Program Officer for the Northern and Western Europe region of our grants funding program, which includes Wikimedia Israel. And so I've been fortunate in that position to have many opportunities to connect with Revital over the course of check-ins about funding and about their programs. And I have learned so much from her. And she'll be stepping down from her position as executive director in early 2023. And so we thought that it would be a great time to have a Let's Connect learning session that centered her and allowed her to share some of what she's learned as a leader. And so we're going to start by just going over some of the safe space agreements that we follow in Let's Connect learning clinics. I wonder if somebody can share the slide deck. So that
Marty, I will do that. I just wanted to, because we started recording before asking people, so I just wanted to double check that if it's okay for us to record so that we can use this for other purposes. We're also recording all the channels so it can be shared with your communities in other languages. But if at any point people want to talk about something that they don't want it to be recorded, we will stop the recording. So just want to make sure everybody is okay with that. If not, just send a message and we will stop the recording.
Great. That intersects perfectly with safe space agreements. Just wait for the slide to advance. So these are the safe space agreements that we use for the Let's Connect learning clinics. That we ask you to use I statements and speak from your own experience, using your own thoughts and interpretations, and to recognize that we have many different perspectives among us and that we welcome different perspectives as valid. And then we ask you to be cautious about the content that you share that might be sensitive to have recorded and online. As Jessica just said, these sessions are recorded and shared publicly. So be mindful about what you share and avoid content that might feel unsafe or overexposing, either for yourself or others. And then we ask that you don't interrupt people. In some cultures, interruption can be a sign of privilege and power over others. And so we ask that for just respect of all here, that you wait for others to finish and use the tools available to request to speak. And then last, there's no pressure for anybody to participate. You're welcome to just be here and observe and listen and learn. Some people are more introverted than others, and so no one is ever required to participate vocally. Next slide. So I just wanted to say just a quick note about what the space is that we're in. This is a Let's Connect learning clinic. And in case that's a new space for any of you, Let's Connect is the peer learning program that the community resources team launched last year. When we were designing our new programs, we solicited a lot of feedback from Wikimedians and affiliates all over the world. And one thing that many people said was that they wished that we didn't just offer funding, but that we offered more support for capacity development. And since we're a small team, we couldn't possibly meet all the demand for learning. So we thought, let's create a space to make it easier for us to share with each other. And so today is a perfect example of that, where we're going to be benefiting from Revital's extensive experience leading an affiliate. And so I just want to mention that all of you are welcome to share in this space or to reach out to us if there are topics you'd like to see us share about. The next slide. And so today, again, we're featuring Revital Poleg, who's the executive director of Wikimedia Israel. And Wikimedia Israel is the Wikimedia chapter devoted to promoting Wikimedia projects and other projects of free content and access to knowledge in Israel. It was founded in 2007, so it's been around a long time. And Revital herself, she's been the executive director at Wikimedia Israel for the last 3 years, but she has extensive professional background in leadership. She's worked closely with high-level, inspiring leaders, has been involved in challenging and stimulating ventures and missions, and has been exposed to diverse human traits and cultures. And so she has a variety of skills and experience in senior executive and management positions. And for me, in meeting with her that has really come through in a lot of my conversations with her, just how deep her experience is in leadership of organizations like Wikimedia Israel. So next slide. So we're going to be going over 3 question clusters today. You'll see on the slide right now the first one, but this is one of 3. We'll be talking about managing boards, managing staff, and managing educational volunteers. So there will be 3 clusters. And Dora, if you could I put the questions into our links doc so that we could have them in the chat in case anyone can't easily see the slide deck. So we'll talk about this first question cluster, and then there will be a time for you to ask questions or make comments about this cluster on managing boards. And then we'll stop again for an opportunity to ask questions again after each cluster. So beginning with this one, this is about managing boards, and there are 3 questions that Revital is going to speak to. What is your approach to board development? How do you keep board members engaged and support a sense of ownership? And how do you avoid burnout and plan for board turnover in an intentional way? And Jessica, I think you know that Revital sent some slides that go with her talking points. Thank you, Revital.
Thank you very, very much, Marty and Jessica, for the invitation, for the kind words, and thank you all for taking the time to be here today. I really take it as a compliment, and I'm very excited. Very happy to share with you some of my views and experience that I believe are important for us day-to-day work within Wikimedia and anywhere at all in general. Throughout my career, I always shared knowledge, but I also like to learn from others. So I hope this evening, it's evening here, it will be for you an effective and useful meeting that can provide you some answers to challenges that you face. Let me start with the first question. What is my approach to board development? And I will start by saying that board development means, in my view, whatever helps the board assume its role more effectively and support the organization growth, its development, its good governance and practices, which are very essential to its function. And what does a well-developed board look like? I will list a number of components that I think are important, and I will also relate to whose responsibility is to take care of those components. It's not a wish list, but rather a compass that shows us the way, and I hope it makes sense. First and foremost, all board members should be familiar with the values and mission of the movement and committed to it. And all board members should understand what the role is and what is expected from them. And of course, with the chapter, know the chapter bylaws to ensure best practices. You might say that whatever I said till now is a must that should be considered. It is indeed so, but that it goes without saying, but it is very, very important to mention it, because what is clear not always is what happened. And let me give you our own example in Israel relating to the responsibilities. First and foremost, it is the role of the chairperson to introduce the necessary information to the board relating to the role, relating to the what is expected, and also to introduce the bylaws to the members. It is the role of the members, and most of it, more than that, of the newcomers, to learn and to get to know the ecosystem in which we operate. And it is the role of the ED responsibility, and you'll see that I'm taking a lot of responsibility throughout this conversation. It is the role of and responsibility of the executive director to introduce the member of the board what is going on within the board, within the chapter, the team, the strategy, the budget, the work, and as the challenges as well. Another important component when we're talking about a well-developed board is the issue of that I believe that the board should reflect diversity. Diversity in few aspects. First of all, diversity that representing the society within we work, the mosaic of the society, gender, race, age, ethnicity, and also diversity of experience, of viewpoints, of backgrounds, capabilities, knowledge, whatever can contribute to the work of the chapter, of the affiliate, because once we are more with more diverse know-hows, then we are richer with possibilities and with understanding options and with bringing viewpoints. And I think the more the viewpoints are diverse, the more we can do better. Whose responsibility is in this case? First of all, it's the responsibility of the board itself as part of the bylaw to be diverse, to represent the diversity of the society, and it should be included there. If it's not in the bylaws, then I suggest very much to put it there. I can take again our own experience, which I consider relatively good. Our board in Israel include 4 women and 5 men, with a variety of ages and orientations. We still don't have an Arabic representative in our of the Arab minority, but it is discussed. Most of the members in our case are long-term and very experienced board members. Some of even belong to the founding generation of the chapter, meaning more than 15 years. In this respect, most of them have a very strong sense of ownership, in the good sense of the word. Ownership doesn't mean that it belongs to you. It means that I feel part of it and I'm very much committed to it. And they have a strong affinity to the vision of the movement in general and that of the affiliate in particular. They bring to the table a diverse point of view and mixed professional experience, which I consider an advantage. I can just name few: media, technology, academia, organizational development, law, industry, resource development, entrepreneurship. All are members of our board. And some of them, of course, are long-standing Wikipedians themselves. So this is a very important starting point for the operation of the board, and I recommend this diversity everywhere that possible. What else? We should have the atmosphere to enable each member and to perform and bring his professional skills. It's not enough that they have it, but they can. How do they practice it? How do they bring it to the table? And I will relate to it later when I talk about engagement, because this is a very important element that helps it perform their skills. Whose responsibility is here? Well, it's not a simple expectation to begin with, because we want them to be part of the board and to be active. And I believe, therefore, that it's a combined responsibility. To start with the chairperson himself, who set the tone, and then the board member themselves who choose to be on the board. So it's not just an honor, which is, but it's also a task that you have to comply. And of course, I'm back to the ED. I believe that the ED should take an initiative here. Why? Because it's my interest that the board members will be involved. So I think that I have a lot to do with this. And as I said, I will refer to it later. Members of the board should be well informed and tuned to the chapter ongoing achievement. It's not only being involved, it's to know what we are doing, to know what are the challenges, what are the achievements, it's being informed doesn't mean interfering. And I'm saying this because I heard from different colleagues of mine that they had some challenges in this case. I say it again, because I said it a few times in the last few weeks. It's not my case, thanks God. I have an informed board, not an interfering one. And it's very, very important. Let me tell you, how do I do it? I think it's first and foremost my own role to keep them informed. So beyond the general meeting that we hold every 3 to 4 months, few times a year, every month I report to the board. This is my own choice. I decided to do it. I am sending an email to all the board members with the main activities, really the main, not everything. What I think it's important for them to know, so we can be on the same page. And more than that, it's not something that I elaborate myself. I ask the team members to send me each end of the month 3 to 5 sentences of their main achievement. So it gives them a sense of what is the essence of what is they've accomplished this month in the recent 4 weeks. And this is what I bring with my own additions and comments to the board, and I keep them informed. And I can tell you the reactions are very positive. They express a sense of caring, involvement, and even pride and empowerment. And it certainly strengthens their sense of organizational belonging, which make the board very, very engaged with us. A high-performing and well-developed board also operates as a team. They share a sense of belonging, responsibility that I mentioned. And one thing, which is last but not least, we also have to take care of the well-being of the board. What do I mean by that? We usually have, we want to boost relationship and good vibes, and it's very recommended all over, whether we're talking about board, whether we're talking about the team, whether we're talking about volunteers. So we are doing an annual refreshing gathering of the board that combines social aspect with either specific subject matter training or open-minded brainstorming on a selected issue. And it's also important for preventing burnout. I can tell you what, talking today, I've been 3 years in Wikimedia Israel, two or almost 2 years were COVID-19 time. So we didn't really have time to have this refreshing gathering, but still, once we did it, it was like a very, very amazing meeting, simply because we enjoyed meeting each other and simply because we had a good vibes. And I'm talking about the board now, about the team I will speak later on. So how do you keep the board engaged? I think this is one of the most important secrets in management of the board. To begin with, I always keep in mind that board members are volunteers. They are here out of their own choice, free choice, a free will. They are not paid, they are not getting any financial compensation. They dedicate time and energy to the task that we as executive directors lead and implement. And yes, they are volunteers, they are the highest authority of the chapter, and as such, they also appointed me as a paid ED. So in practice, I report to the volunteers. So you may ask who runs the show, and it's a complex situations that sometimes may cause problems or challenges or recipe for tensions or etc. And we don't want that. So the secret of it is to understand, to prevent it, the secret to prevent it, in my view, is to understand that we share the same interest. This is an important issue to remember always. It's part of my behavior always, I remember we share interest. Why it is important? Because shared interest is a key factor in building relationship. Sorry? And building and cultivating trust and relationship with the board, with the staff, with the volunteers is based upon the shared interest. And this is indeed a challenge task, but a must. And in many aspects, I believe that this is the whole Torah. The whole Torah means the whole Bible, trust and relationship. And my personal golden advice on that is take responsibility and lead the process of building trust and relationship with the board members. Pull the strings and make it happen. It can happen. Let me share with you an experience that I had a few good years ago when I first had my experience with building, establishing a board. In this case, I didn't build and I didn't establish the board. I got it ready-made, but I was involved a few good years ago in the establishment of the Shimon Peres Center for Peace. And we have established our board that was composed with the best names in the world, the most known names in the world of leaders and people that from all the world. And we were about to meet for the first time. And then a member of the board, a very, very dear person that I came to know, came to visit us. And he sat with me and asked me whether I know what should they do? They gave you their name. Is that enough? There are very, very important names from all over the world. What do you do with them? They just get a list of people. This person, I should name him because he deserves it. His name is Richard Schubert. He was many, many years ago the Undersecretary of Labor in the United States. He gave me this advice, which I apply and since then and follow it according to the circumstances and the situation. And he said, you have very important people on your board. You want them to support your mission. You want them to be there for you, but they are very busy people. They, if you don't ask, if you don't know what to ask, they won't do anything and it will be fine. You'll have this great list. So first of all, think what they can do for you and ask for that, but be very modest. Find the right thing to ask, the thing that is tailor-made to their capabilities, to their passion, to their motivation, tailor-made it for them. Let me give you an example. One of them can have a very good relation with somebody that you want to reach, ask him. The other one can write a letter to the editor when it's required, ask him. Ask for one mission per year. Of course, this is not the board that we are working with the affiliate, but it's a lesson that you can driven for it, some other lessons that and apply to it to the right board. Have specific mission to the specific person. One knows a very important donor that you want to reach. Ask him whether he can introduce you to him or to her. The other one can gather few people at home and maybe you can come and talk about your activity. So define it very, very carefully and be sensitive and be realistic. The task should be tailored to them. And when I came in to the Wikimedia Israel, the first thing I did after meeting, of course, the team, I made an appointment with every member of the board. I said, I need to personalize my relation. I need to know them beyond the process of being appointed. I want them to know me. I want to know them. I want to know where and what I can get help from them. How can I use their experience? And I made it clear that I'm here to work together. And surprisingly enough, it's sometimes amazing to see how much people liked to be asked, to feel contributing beyond their formal title as member of the board. It makes them feel noticed and valuable. It really does. They can be the most important people of in the world. They like attention. Everybody, don't we? And I approach them as an individual, and I can tell you very, very frankly, I have a project with every member of my board in Israel. Of course, with the chairperson, who is the very, very first contact I have, and we communicate all the time. I have one board member who works with me on the technological project that we run of the GLAM dashboard, if you're familiar with that. I have two academicians that I'm working with them to understand issues that are related to the academy. They open the door for us where is necessary. We have two top level Wikipedians that help us with the maze of working with the community. One member is very, very involved in resource development, etc., etc., etc. I don't ask them too much. I come when I need, and they help me. And that's very, very important. And having said that, a few more rules to that. Always remain on the proactive and initiating side in asking each of them. Be the leader of your own task. Once you are on the initiating side, as I said, you'll be surprised to see that they are collaborating. Ask for assistance where it needed. Don't be shy. The no is a possible answer, but you may get a yes. Will you engage all the board members? Probably not. But the involvement of many of them create a good vibe and a good atmosphere within the board itself, and a feeling of partnership. And that's highly, highly important. And last but not least, on that case, acknowledge their contribution. People like to be noticed, people like to be thanked, and they deserve it. They invested in the affiliate, providing their best knowledge, best skills, and they are volunteering on that. They deserve it. Acknowledge it. And I can tell you that within my reports every month, if there is something I did with one of the members of the board, it's always there. It's encouraged also the others. So this is my coin on the issue of the board.
Thank you so much, Revital, for sharing all your thoughts on the board. It's 8:34 in my time, 34 minutes after the hour, and we have a little less than an hour left and two more topics. So I'm going to suggest that we maybe just take one question for now, and then we'll move to the next topic. And then if there's time at the end, we'll take more questions. Does anyone, I see, let's go with the question that Justice has put in the chat, because that's something that could be beneficial to everyone. Revital, Justice is asking, do you have any board rules and regulations you can share with us if need be?
The board rules and regulation are based on the Israeli law. It's nothing that, I mean, we made some changes, very minor ones, but basically it is the Israeli law that define how a non-for-profit should act. So we are stick to that mostly. Of course, if we define whether it's like 9 members of the board or 11 members of the board, but the bylaws are general for everybody. I have it in Hebrew. Maybe I'm not sure I have it in English, but this is an issue that can be solved.
You're also welcome to share it in Hebrew, Revital, and we can work on translation if there's, demand to see those things.
Okay.
Let's see if you could maybe take a short response to this good question that Jessica shared with me. I know I said I was just going to do one question, but this is a really good question. Obviously, when the relationship between the council and the executive management is good, the work will progress well, as the case in Israel. But how do you deal with a conflict between the council and the executive management? For example, a conflict over priorities. And just so we save time for the other topics, if you could maybe just do a quick pass of any quick thoughts.
To be very honest, I didn't face such a situation. So I didn't have need to deal with it. I think that in basically when you are building trust and relationship, as I said, and I will repeat this slogan again and again, whenever you face a challenge, you have to talk, you have to open it, you have to discuss with it, with the person or with the persons that are involved. And if there is a goodwill, there is a way, I guess. I know that it sounds simple, and when you face a challenge, it's not very easy and it's not very pleasant, etc. But if it is done in a good faith, I believe it can be solved. It's as I said, we share the same interest. If the interest is the same one, then we must find a way. Otherwise, we won't be able to work.
Thank you for those thoughts. So just so that we don't lose time, let's go to the next slide, Jessica, for the next question cluster. And here we're going to be talking about staff management. So we're moving from the board to the staff. And we have quite a long question cluster for this one that I'm going to read out loud. How do you cultivate leadership at the staff level? What qualities are important for an affiliate board to look for when they hire their first ED? What is the relationship between organizational structure and organizational vision? What are the most important principles for people management, whether staff or volunteers? How do you manage the risk of burnout and keep the work fresh and engaging for longtime staff? How do you plan for turnover? And we are asking these questions in a cluster because the answers overlap. So she's going to speak to them in a bunch. Thank you, Rebecca.
Thank you, Marty. And yeah, there is a lot of stuff here talking about the stuff, and the definitely a very important issue. Let me begin by talking about the leadership, the staff leadership, cultivate leadership within the team. So first of all, leadership is not necessarily about a rank within the organization, but rather an expression of knowledge, of expertise, of professional authority and motivation that one is demonstrating. It is not possible to provide higher ranks within such small organization. We are very limited on that, and not necessarily it is needed. We can certainly empower the team members and acknowledge their professionalism. So to begin with, I treat each team member as a professional authority, as an expert in this field. I express confidence and trust in their capability and skills, and it in itself, it empowers them. I listen to them. I want to listen to know when we have a discussion or conversation about a professional one, their lead the tone of on the professional aspect, and it's important because I want them to be able to feel free to deliver their own professional message, and to feel that this is an environment that wants them to be professional and respect it. Each team member has a lot of responsibility on his shoulder, his or her. Excuse me for using some his or her, but it's both of them. And leading the managing field, if they are not backed up, it will be difficult for them to function. Obviously, it has to do first and foremost with finding the right person, okay? It's not only about being an authority if they don't have other traits as well, such as critical thinking, emotional intelligence, integrity, etc. Do we always get that? Well, we try, we do our best. I am very happy with the team I have today, but of course it takes to tango. But one thing is very, very important to remember always: much of the success of our organization hangs on our team members. They are doing the job. They are actually those who do the job. I do on my side the best I can to inspire and to encourage the team members to innovate, to look for new ideas, to suggest new activities. I want them to feel safe to change, to innovate, to come with new ideas, to be eager for improving, and they're upgrading their own field, to open their eyes for opportunities, partnership. We're talking about these things are not only words, these are things that we are actually discussing in either one-on-one meeting or in the collective meetings. And be so sure it's not necessarily suitable for everyone. You can show people the way to find something, but you cannot force them to act as, like that. Also, through watching the team members and working closely with them, I get to better know the qualities, strengths, weaknesses, level of commitment, professional preferences, tendencies, etc. A social aspect, which are very important for building a team. And I learned to identify who stands out more and who is less. Where are the missing links? Where are the bottlenecks? This is how eventually I identified the need for the chapter organizational change, which I'll later on show you, which I initiated and implemented a year ago with the full support of the board. And I think it's by watching the team, understanding the work, and giving them the opportunity to flourish where possible, you get a lot out of them. There are other mechanisms that are important, and I mentioned, for example, the weekly team meeting that we are holding, and that we are very carefully to keep and implement almost under any circumstances. We don't cancel a weekly meeting. Tomorrow, for example, every Wednesday we have this meeting. We are all prepared for it. We have an agenda and we are working accordingly. Why is it so important? Because in this meeting, everybody has a voice. We respect everybody's voice to share, to advise, to lead a discussion about something, to bring a challenge that we want to hear everybody's idea on a thought, and not necessarily, even if you are not from the direct issue, you may have another point of view, which I said before, that is very, very important. You asked me what qualities are important for affiliate board to look for when they are hire the first ED, and with focus on the word first. So first of all, the board member themselves, I would ask them, do you have a strategic plan? It helps and it's important in order to guide the search the search itself on one hand, and the integration of the chosen person into the job. If you don't have, dear board members, then sit down for a few hours and define and prioritize the tasks that you expect from the ED, the new one, the first one to implement, and also decide what to delegate to him or her, and what remains, at least at that stage of the time, at the hands of the board. So what is the quality list that I would look for in hiring the first ED? As earlier said, you should demonstrate a passion for the vision of the mission. I don't expect a new person to know very well what the vision is and what the mission is. I want to be, if he or she are connected to the idea, to the basic idea of what the movement is about, and then to learn it very, very deeply. Being the first one, one should have an entrepreneurial skills and motivation. Should be the person who is willing to roll up his sleeves and take upon himself a diverse type of task. Nothing, certainly not at that stage, should be considered as too small or too big, he or she coming to build the organization. They need to be able and they need to have this motivation to do the job. It should be a person who grows the organization, someone who can shape the organization with a strategic thinking, of course, and goes without saying, excellent communication skills and interpersonal proficiency. The executive director is the face of the organization. One must be capable of building relationship with diverse stakeholders, starting with the board and then with the potential donors and partners, of course, with building a team, develop resources, engage the community, pave his way in the maze of the movement, and much more. There are so many tasks here. He must be a multitasking person by nature. This is about the ED. I'm trying to speed up a little bit and going up to the question about relationship between organizational structure and organizational vision. I would say that organizational vision, first of all, identify the objective of the organization, provide us with the insight into what the organization hopes to achieve or become in the future. So the organizational vision is about who we are and where do we want to be. When we are talking about organizational structure, this is the backbone of all the operating procedure, the workflow of the organization. It determines the place and the role of each team member, and it's also key to the organizational development. The purpose of the organizational structure is to help the organization achieve its aims and the objectives that are driven from the vision. The organizational structure is about how to do. If the first one is about who we are and where we want to be, the organizational structure should help us to do it. So what is the relation between the two? The organizational structure should reflect the organizational vision. Allow me to share with you again my experience, because we have made a very important change. 3 years ago, when I came on board, I found a very committed and professional team of 6 people that are doing well, that stand up to the results. And I found a flat organization, or you can call it, as you can see, a flat organization. That means that everybody is reporting to the executive director. It worked well, so why to change? Because it worked well and reflected the past. We are talking about an organization that 3 years ago was almost 13 years old. Of course, it started with one person and then grew with another one, and another one. It was never a time to stop and to think, are we in the right structure? Because the urgent drives out the important, and we are familiar with that. I'm sure that everybody here is familiar with that in his own affiliate, in all organization, that we are running sometimes around our tail and never stop thinking, is that the right format to do the things? But since I was a newcomer, I felt it very strongly. Every member was focused on his project, her in that case, and all the rest was my job. So I found myself busy with everything and cannot even delegate to other people because they were too busy. And I felt that this structure that you see here on the screen limits us and doesn't provide opportunities to experiment potential growth, to refresh procedure, to get rid of what is less impactful, to identify new opportunity. My fear was that not only we will not grow, but there is a tangible risk of burnout and a drop of motivation within the team if we keep on in the same way. People were like doing their own, I felt it, I called it, they're all each one in his box doing the best, but in its own box. And we must somehow connect it better. And this is when I reached the understanding that my vision of growth, or that was absolutely supported by the board, doesn't follow the organizational structure and the change that is required if we are looking into the future. And my approach to is that cultivated landscape is constantly evolving. We don't stay at the same point. We need to develop, we need to change, we need to look inside and ask ourselves many questions. Are we doing well? And maybe what worked good for the past doesn't help us in the future. So what I choose actually is the decentralized organizational structure, which you can see here. And I found it more suitable to our current and future needs. The structure demonstrates options, and this is totally new within the our organization, demonstrate options for personal growth and development. Distribute capabilities, support knowledge sharing, and encourage team member responsibilities. It was clear to me that if I want to strengthen the organization, and this is also an important element, and I'm talking about leadership growth and grooming people from the organization, it should be a person from inside. We don't take for the new role of deputy ED a new person from the outside. On the contrary, we let the people know that there is a chance for growing, not necessarily very immediately, not necessarily in the rank. And I mentioned few ideas, and I will mention more about how you provide the sense of growing to the team. So what are the main changes? As you can see, we have created an intermediate level of a deputy director for content and programs that is responsible for the organization's core activity and the team that carries it out. I'm talking about the Hebrew education, Arabic education, academic staff, and volunteer development. They are the core professional team members, and for this mission, I assigned the most veteran, most experienced, and highly professional team member who directly report to me. They report to her, but to say that they don't, but since we are a very small organization, we defined a mechanism where on the ongoing basis, they mostly report to her, but we have every once a month at least, a meeting with all three of us. I'm not talking about a weekly meeting, I'm talking about each coordinator with the deputy ED and with myself to analyze, to think about strategic options, and to see where we can take their role to a better situation. On the other hand, and I'm going to the other side of the map, we have redefined the roles of the professional services, which included the finance and the administration, the marketing, events, communication, and community. Both provide support to the entire organization and to each team member, and they report directly to me. What does it mean? It means that some of the roles that each coordinator used to do in the past, she's not doing this anymore, because there is somebody who took it upon themselves. They can feel free and not only stressed between their own shoulders, running around their tail to do the job. They have support. So each one support the other. They have support which is more professional on the educational part. They have support on the logistical part, and it works very nicely together. And I can tell you, we are a year beyond that, more than a year beyond that, and it works. And it's nice to see it. Another important step that we have taken refers to the re-examination of the activity of each team member and each field of operation. What works less, what impact each project produces, and whether or not, more can be done. What are the bottlenecks that hinder the workflow, and how can they be solved or not? Maybe we need to work it differently. We also explore the quality of the partnership that each member of the team is maintaining. What works and make this partnership successful and efficient, and what demands too much work? Maybe it's not the right partnership. Maybe we can improve it and share, and we share interest in a better way. What the meaning of all this process, that we also not only change the structure, but we also refresh the mixture of activity that each of the educational coordinator creating, and updated their own task basket. We also, and this is an ongoing process, we encourage them, I ask them to test and propose new initiative that they want to experiment within their field. And this is how, for example, we have entered to new fields of activities this year, with more activities with teacher, more field of content that were not involved, were not dealt before, editing course with new audiences and more. And also it helps you reduce the burnout. And one important aspect that has nothing to do with the structure is that we also show consideration to personal needs where possible. What do I mean by that? The hybrid work that we are maintaining, which allows team member to work from home few days a week, but it's the same few days for everybody. So we meet. It's not that somebody is coming to the office and stays alone. No, we meet on the same days, and we are meeting from distance on the other days. And we have flexible arriving time, and everybody can come when they taking in consideration transit problem, etc. All these aspects are so important. They feel and make the team member feel that somebody cares for them. Does it solve all problems? Not necessarily, but it is definitely a very, very helpful way to maintain the staff. And of course, we are trying to do staff days, not too many. And during the COVID, we didn't do anything, of course. But this also is a moment of joy, a moment of sharing, a moment of no work, although we add to it some interesting lecture or a visit to an exposition or something like that. And I can see the difference. I am very honest to say I see the difference from 3 years ago. And a very important question, how do we plan for the turnover? As Marty said, I will be stepping down in 2-3 weeks after 3 years, and turnover is one of the things that I am taking care and very busy with in the recent, in that point of time. I hope that we can make it a seamless transition as much as possible. Continuity is essential for the health of the organization and for the feeling of the members of the organization. The team members should feel secured. They should feel that they are not to be afraid, to be secured, and not only by me, but also by the board member. I inform the board member and then the staff about my expected departure well in advance, in order to allow enough time for the recruitment process and to identify the suitable replacement person. And I'm also taking part in the process myself at the important junction points that I'm asked to. I suggested it myself and say, I'm at your disposal, whatever you need from me for that process, I'm there. It was important for me, as I said, to convey the team that they are not being abandoned and their place is secured. And I continue to work at the same speed even today. And to make everything working as usual, not to make any feeling that something is not exactly stable. At the same time, during the last few weeks, I worked with each team member to ensure the continuation process. I try to close and complete open moves, resolve ambiguities, I update contact persons and partners, and I prepared, as always, a detailed document that the newcomer, the new ED will receive from me. Of course, it is tailor-made to our local situation and reality, and I hope to make it as best as I can, and I wish success to the board and to the new ED and to the team. That's it.
Thank you so much, Revital. I just want to see if we can open the mics now if anyone has questions. We'll just probably take 1 or 2 questions to leave time for the volunteer discussion. I just read questions last time because I was worried about making sure we stay on time, but why don't we take a couple of minutes to hear other people's voices? We've received some good questions in the retro board and in the comments. Would anyone like to unmute yourself and speak a question you have about staff management? Okay, I'm just going to read one of the questions we got on the retro board then so that we can keep going. What tips do you have for change management, especially when those who have been there before and are present in your new leadership want to keep the status quo of how things are done, especially when those wanting things to remain the same have strong voices in the organization and community?
Talking about a change of the leadership, meaning the executive director?
I think it's a general question about change management, but since you've been addressing, any of the changes that you've been discussing, you could use that as a case in point.
Personally, well, at least in my case, when I came in, I tried to keep the pace. As people know, I don't come and make a revolution when to a new location, to a new team and to a new board, and bring all whatever I think and believe without knowing what the reality is. I think it's very, very important to keep up the continuity and give a sense of secure to the people involved, either board members and team members. It's not about the affiliate should continue to function. Ideas can come only from learning, and maybe my initial thoughts are not correct. I need to understand what the reality is. I need to understand what the challenge is. I need to know the people involved, to know what their strengths, weaknesses, etc., as I mentioned earlier. And only then I make up my mind. And of course, I consulted and I introduced it and I discuss it. But I make up my mind where do I want to lead this organization and how to do it, but not before the stress. And there is a stress when a new ED is coming. Let's not forget it. They don't know who is the new creature that is coming, what is his trait, etc., etc., and they're afraid, and I can understand them. So first of all, diminish the strengths and help them feel that they are secured. Learn with whom you're working and start understanding the reality, not before that. Challenges may come even if you don't look for them, but you can reduce it.
Okay, thank you, Revital. I think I'm going to stop for now with that one question so we make sure there's time to talk about volunteers, because I think that's a topic that everybody wants to hear about. And then when we do Q&As after volunteer discussion, you can all feel free to ask questions about any of the topics, depending on how much time we have left. But for now, let's just to make sure we don't run out of time, let's jump back into the last section of this session. And Jessica, if you could share the last question cluster.
Just give me a second, sorry.
Sure, yes. Sorry, you didn't have warning. But the last question cluster is on managing educational volunteers. Some of the principles may be relevant to other kinds of volunteers as well, but educational volunteers play a particularly important role in Wikimedia Israel. And so that's what she'll be focusing on. And I'm going to start reading the questions while Jessica's loading the slide. And if you have the slides yourself, you might want to look. This is slide 12 of the deck. And the questions are, how do you support volunteers to develop to a sophisticated enough level that they can not just contribute in a basic sense, but play a leadership role in your programs? And I know from our feedback reports from our grant programs that many people are thinking about this. How do you get volunteers to not just contribute, but develop to leadership roles? And how do you manage volunteers? How do you handle recruitment of new volunteers, especially when thinking about higher level roles for volunteers? What does volunteer training look like? And how do you manage the risk of volunteer burnout and keep the work fresh and engaging for long-time volunteers? So that's the question cluster for volunteers. And we look forward to hearing what you have to say about this, Revital, because I know you've had a lot of successes in areas where some affiliates have had challenges.
Thank you, Marty. I must say that we in Wikimedia Israel are privileged to collaborate with high quality and very committed team of educational volunteers. All of them are experienced Wikipedians who walk along with us and are involved in a variety of educational tasks, projects, and missions that I will describe later on. You might be surprised, or maybe not, but some of them are volunteering in the chapter since its very early days, meaning more than 15 years. So if you're talking about burnout, at least they are not burned out. They're committed and they're doing excellent job. And some are very, very new. So we have the mixture of, here you can see some of the trainees of our, in the first image that you show, you actually see them, those that are very veterans and those that are very new, and it works wonderfully together. Here is one of the images of the editing course where I marked the volunteers. You see here a young lady of 24 years old together with a person that is almost 80 years old, and they are all very active. I want to refer more to the educational volunteers, although we have others and I will mention them as well. And more specifically to these volunteers that are, which are not only the three that you see here, but more that are supporting our one of our flagship project, which is the editing course for senior citizens, because I'm talking about volunteers that are investing about hundreds of hours per year, each of them, hundreds of hours per year. Yes, and it wouldn't work without them. And that's something that we convey to them and we believe in, and we are very happy to have them. And I'm thankful for that. As I said before, I always keep in mind that volunteers do invest their own time, skill, and effort, and help us make it happen. It won't work without them. Whenever I speak about volunteers, I'm very much smiling because I really love them. And it's about, to begin with, as always, trust and relationship and shared interests that make it possible for us to work together. But let me talk more about what we consider the leadership. First and foremost, we consider them Wikimedia experts. They are not volunteers that are coming to fill up the gap. They are experts. They have the know-how, they have the experience of editor, they are members of the community and usually very much engaged and respected members. And as such, they know the community better than we know. they are helping us understand better the community, which is so much important. And this aspect in itself makes them leaders. Being expert, they are all part and parcel of our training processes. That's how we consider them, an integral part of our educational team. And this is how they are introduced to the course. These course members, for example, when they start the course, they choose the volunteer, or the volunteer is choosing with whom she will work. And they are dedicated to these people to an extent that it's unprecedented. I mean, they simply accompany the newcomers during the course, after the course, as much as needed. And I wanted to mention it later, but if I mention it now, I will say that we have even one volunteer that she is doing house calls. She's actually coming to the trainees at home, to visit at home, and to show them on the screen how does it work. Here you see this young volunteer that is 24 years old, and the trainee here is a high-level scientist sitting at her home in Haifa, and the young one is providing support for the less young person, and it works wonderfully. See, they are smiling, and they are really smiling the whole way. This is what you see here. I'm jumping, but the images are talking for themselves. And what you see here is one of the way we treat our way to treat the volunteers. That we have at least one event a year, a day dedicated only for them. Here, for example, this took place like 2 months ago in Jerusalem. You can see the background when we invite them all to share a new partnership that we held with the Israeli National Archive of Film Archive. And it was a mixture of fun and editing. And it was a wonderful, wonderful day. We drive together from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. We had our time touring within the archive. We experiment editing, special editing of adding films, historical films to existing articles in Wikipedia. And of course, we had a great lunch and we went back home. So this is how we treat them. But I'm jumping, so let me go back to how we develop leadership. Being expert, as I said, are part and parcel of the training process and the educational team. And this is how we introduce them also to the participant. It empowers their sense of belonging and responsibility, and boost their feeling of meaningfulness. A volunteer is dedicating his time. If he doesn't feel that is meaningful, what's the use? So when we introduce them as such, it's more than that, because the new trainees, those that decided to come on board and learn the skills of editing in Wikipedia, they look at those experts as role models for them, and they treat them as role models, no matter the age, the sex, the whatever. And the ties that are developed in this during these courses remain many, many times after that. And one important thing as well, it's not only about building trust that we trust them, they trust us for leading and training properly and faithfully the goal. To lead to the goal. And this enables us creating a fruitful and coordinated teamwork that showcases that 1 + 1 is definitely more than 2. How do we ensure that they develop a sophisticated enough level to play a leading role in the program, because they're coming from different walks of life and not necessarily involved in education, but they know Wikipedia and they love Wikipedia, and we must introduce them to the respective program, either it's the editing course or it's a workshop within a class. and they should understand exactly where they are going to be integrated. They must become familiar with the method, with the learning process and at all its stages, the desired outcomes. For this, they undergo short guiding and training and participate in enrichment meetings and activities that we offer a few times a year, that gathering that we maintain online usually, with a special lecture or with a conversation or with dealing with challenges a little bit out of the box, out of the routine. But when they are starting their role as a volunteer, before, during, and after each activity, they are working together with us, going through the material. They have access to the learning environment, to all the training materials. They constitute an integral part of the project. They don't run the project. They have the role. They don't deal with logistic and administration. We don't need them to do that. We want them to feel pleasantly and to know that somebody is taking care of them. Each of them has his role within the course. When we start a new course, each time we define whose role is doing what and where they come in, where they give their own lecture on a specific area, where they reply to the questions. They can suggest, they can provide ideas, and many times their ideas are taken into consideration and are included in the next project, in the next course or other activity. And many times, since they feel so secure and so close to us, they come with their own initiative. And actually, at that very moment, we have 3 different initiatives that 3 volunteers have suggested, and we are examining it together with them. Is it possible? Is it good for us? Can we do it? What does it take? How to do it? And very nice ideas that actually enlarge our basket of activities. And it comes from them, which is very important. That means they feel involved in a very high level. How do we recruit them? It can be done in several ways. It can be done through screening potential volunteers, directly approach them and ask them that we want to see if they are willing to join our team. How we choose them, here we have again this editing course that is not only producing new editors, but also producing new volunteers, because we watch them after they finish the course and we watch the retention level and the level of professionalism that they show by editing, and their ethics, which is not less important. How do they treat the community? And when we think that they might be helpful for us, we simply approach them. And as I said, people like to be approached. And most of the replies, when we identify a person, most of them are coming on board and start with conversation with the deputy director, that it's her role to lead the training of the volunteers. Another way to recruit is a friend brings a friend. Many of our volunteers suggested to their friends that are also Wikipedians, of course. And when there is a will, they ask us whether we can check it. Of course, it's not necessarily that one is up to the task. We need to talk with him, we need to know him. Luckily, in that case, we are a relatively small community, so we have references. We can check it. We can learn about the person.
Revital, I just want to mention to you that we are 10 minutes from the end of the session, just to give you a sense of timing.
Okay, so you What else? I will stop here and let's give time for question, because I want people to have this as well.
Okay. If there's any last points you want to add, I don't mean to cut you off. I just wanted to let you know so that you could consider how much time to leave. But if you feel like you're at a good stopping point, then yeah, let's open the mic and see if people have questions. And as I said before, because we just had short Q&A after the first two clusters, feel free to ask questions about any of the subject matters. And if you can use the feature that allows you to raise your hand, then we can call on you, and it would be nice to hear new voices. And if my colleagues can help me see if I miss any hands. I'm not seeing any hands go up yet. So
maybe whilst people warm their voices up, I think there was an interesting question that links the last two clusters. So around, sorry, I shared it with you in the chat, Marty. How do you manage the balance between the paid role, such as the ED or the staff that you presented, with volunteer roles? How do you manage the politics that come with it? And especially when the community has been dependent on volunteer roles for many years. I think this is relevant for everybody, but also wanting to highlight that here we have a mixture of some of the affiliates organizations that have had a history of staff, but also some of the new user groups where the staff may just be starting or everybody's volunteer still. So maybe talking to those different contexts as well. Thank you.
Okay, the team is responsible for the tasks to begin with, okay, because we lead the activity of the chapter. We have our working plan, as you well know, and we have to fulfill it. And this create the framework in which we work. There is no I must admit that the issue of a conflict about being paid or not being paid was not on the agenda, because we take in consideration, and volunteers know that they can do as much as they want, not necessarily all the time. Not all the volunteers that are involved, for example, in the editing course, are there all the time. There are each course we are checking beforehand, of course, who can join this, and this is a commitment that they take. But if they cannot join, they don't. We don't have that advantage, of course, as the team members. We have to do it. So it's very clear what the roles are, and it doesn't mean that if you are not in charge of the project, you are not a leader in the project. It's the sense of being together and taking the responsibility together, because we share the same mission. So the volunteers knows exactly what they do, and the advantage is that they come with ideas, etc. But it's not about being the leaders in the sense of running the show. Of course, I didn't mention, and I should do, is that we have other volunteers as well, that they are doing other projects and may run it on their own, either in giving lectures to different audiences, either in running activities that they are invited to lead by different audiences. That's absolutely fine. But within the role of the chapter, the person in charge, and they love to have a person in charge, that's also somebody who is a focal point for them, it's very clear. It doesn't interfere with their role as volunteers. I hope I answered.
Thank you. I think we have time for one more question. Hen, do you have your hand raised to ask a question? Okay, let's do it.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Yeah. Yeah, you can. Okay, good. I wanted to answer the last question, and hi, Revital. I wanted to kind of give my input about the last question about the political, kind of the difficulties between having a first staff member and volunteers. Hi everyone, I'm Chen. I'm a lead program officer on the community resources team. I've been doing that for the past 4 years, but before that, I worked for 5 years at Wikimedia Israel, and I was the first employee of the chapter. So I feel like I can give maybe some input around that. I can tell you that as the first employee, it was very clear to me that my biggest mission at that time when I started was to support the volunteers. That was the framework I've been working within. You know, if the community wanted to organize a conference or an event, I was there to help them with the administrative work, with you know, the things that volunteers less enjoy doing. And I think that was a very good framing because that really allowed me to establish the trusting relationship and the relationship with the volunteers. I'm here to support you. I'm here to help you do your work. I'm here to help you develop the project that you're very invested in, following with, you know, board guidance and priorities and annual plan, but I'm here to support you. That was a very significant role, I think, when having, again, the first employee.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of build on top of that, I feel. You first have the person to help with administrative things, with financials, with all the things around the project, not the core wiki work. Once you establish that and you establish the relationship with the volunteers, that I'm not here to step on your toes, I'm not here to, you know, navigate the political issues, I'm just here to be your right hand. It allowed me to have a more engaging role in their projects. Once we established that, then we had room for more spaces, for more employees, for more professional roles. And that's exactly what I've done. I spent, like, I think maybe the first year just supporting them, just helping them doing their own work. And then we started building my bigger role, like doing partnerships and doing financials and organizing events and activities. But then it was easier to bring more people in, because once you have that framing, like, I'm here for you, according to what you want to do and the board want to do, then we'll find like the right people to do that. But the first mission is just, I'm here to support you. Whatever you want, I'm here for you. And I think it was like, that's it. That's my 2 cents about like being the first employee. I think that's really important, because there is always a sense of, is this person going to step on my toes? Is he going to intervene with the things that I want to do? I'm a volunteer. I do it on my volunteer capacity. You're getting paid for it. So having that the separation or clarity of the role is very important, I feel.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Super. I loved what you said. I just want to make clear that I was speaking about educational volunteers. We do have other volunteers, and we treat them more similar to what you said, because we ask them, we consult with them. We are going to organize the birthday in January, for example. We consult with them. What do they want? It's not the same with running the professional educational task. That's a different thing.
Revital, because some people might have to leave immediately, could you just quickly share the offer that you generously made to host some group sessions in the coming months, if anybody would like the chance to consult with you further?
Yes, thank you very much, Marty. As I told Marty when we were preparing this event, that one of the things I will be doing is going back to one of my work experience, which is consulting, and I'm very much happy to organize like to have 2-3 affiliates that are willing, that are interested to learn or to ask questions, to share my experience with them, pro bono, of course, for a few meetings, and that will be my contribution with the whole my heart, which I like doing, also what I very, very much love to do.
So this is really amazing. As you can tell, she has so much wisdom and experience, and she's offering to volunteer 2 or 3 sessions to offer more feedback. So if this interests you to follow up and have more time with Revital, can you reach out to Jessica and the Let's Connect team and let us know you have interest? And based on how many people are interested, we can sort of figure out how to structure that generous offer from Revital to give you more chance to ask questions and learn. Thank you all so much for being here today. It was great to have such a strong turnout. And thank you so much, Revital, for sharing. I learned again so much hearing you.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Jessica just put the email address in the chat for the Let's Connect team. So you can use that. If you want to reach out and let us know that you're interested in engaging further with Revital, you can use that email address to contact us and let us know.
Thank you very, very much. I really appreciate your being here, and Jessica, Marty, with all my heart.
Thank you so much.
A master class for many of us. And I'm
you.
sure that in the follow-up sessions you may have, you'll be able to share a lot more and learn from all the wonderful people we have here that come from all different regions, and there's a lot of richness here. So thank you so much. I've learned an incredible amount, and thank you to all those Let's Connectors. We will be sharing this via YouTube in the different languages on our Let's Connect page. All the learning clinics that we have go up there, and 2023 will be full of them. And hopefully some of you will be sharing like Revital and hosting one of these learning clinics. So thank you. Thank you to our interpreter.
Thank you. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. Thank you.
Thank you, Revital.
Bye-bye.
Everybody who wants to open up their mic and make noise and say hello, and say goodbye, and say Merry Christmas.
Hello. Bye-bye. Hello.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
See you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
See you next time.
See
Thank
you
you.
next time. Thank you, interpreters.
Thank you.
Oh yeah, thank you, interpreters, for sure.
Thank you.
Can we stop the recording?
Yes, let me do that.